Sav'orq, this is a hoverbike, a vehicle that you can build in Tears of the Kingdom, which became instantly popular due to its low build cost, simple design, and the fact that it's a hoverbike. Hoverbikes are just cool. We're still waiting for them to become a thing in real life, but for now, we can fly them around in Hyrule, and that's awesome. The build that gained popularity uses just 2 fans and a steering stick. Despite using just these 3 components, players found themselves able to fly, and in style. Various versions improve on handling with some subtle adjustments, such as the Hoverbike 2.0 and Hoverbike 3.0, but here's the thing. Hoverbikes are bad. They should not be in this game. Bear with me.
Let him finish!
The whole concept of the original hoverbike and its variants can be summed up like this. A vehicle that's minimal in zonai parts, meaning that it's as cheap to auto build as it could possibly be, yet can also fly around without limits, except for battery life. This means that at any given time, without using up many resources, you can easily access a flying machine to just get to wherever you want to go. Whichever version you use, the hoverbike allows you to fly around Hyrule, explore the sky, and get from A to B without having to climb, deal with monsters, or trudge across long distances. And those are all good things, aren't they? Here's the truth. Yes, the hoverbike is great, but it comes at a cost. And I don't mean the mere 9 zonai to cost to auto build. Allow me to explain.
Let me explain.
Remember in Breath of the Wild, when you didn't have access to any kind of vehicles? You could ride on horseback, apart from the few times where terrain doesn't allow it, but you certainly couldn't fly around at will. Wasn't it such a burden to get around? Didn't we just wish we could zoom around and make traversal all that much easier? Didn't we just dream of something like a hoverbike? Actually, I wished for loft wings personally, especially with the Sky Islands in the trailers for Tears of the Kingdom. I was really disappointed when loft wings weren't a thing. In the weeks leading up to Tears of the Kingdom, I started a new game on Breath of the Wild in order to attempt some achievement style challenges. And let me tell you, traversal across the game world is pretty tough at the start, and even more inconvenient without activated travel gates all over the map, especially without the map itself. But I came to realize something. The world of Hyrule being difficult to traverse is actually more fun. I really enjoyed being grounded in a way that forced me to navigate the world in the way that the devs intended, or at least in a way that forces me to engage with the world, rather than just warping to a tower and gliding almost all the way to wherever I want to go. Again, when beginning Tears of the Kingdom, getting from A to B wasn't as straightforward as just flying or gliding in a straight line, and you don't even get access to the paraglider for a while. You had no choice but to just walk. This forced you to deal with the threats and challenges that came with being on the ground. You had to climb steep terrain or find a way around, sneak around enemies or fight them head on, figure out a good route on the map or just plow on and see what happens. Yes, you were forced to engage with that world, and wasn't it more fun that way? You're using the hoverbike too frequently, and you're missing out on some key things that make this game so enjoyable. Combat in this game is just buckets of fun, especially with the myriads of ways you can approach any given battle. With the ability to just fly overhead, it's so easy to just skip combat altogether when exploring. In fact, choosing to approach enemies and head on into battle starts to feel a bit pointless, and therefore it starts to feel like a waste of weapons. But if you walk around Hyrule more often, you'll get into more battles. The more battles you get into, the more fun ways you'll come up with to fight. And the more you do that, the more you'll enjoy combat. And the more you enjoy combat, the more you'll see monster camps and world bosses as opportunities for fun, rather than just burdens to be passed over. Okay, climbing can be a burden at times, especially when it's raining, but still, the climbing mechanic of this game can be genuinely enjoyable at times. Working out the best part of the cliff to scale, or having to figure out if you have enough stamina to climb, or if it's better to try and find a way around, is all part of the fun, and not much beats the feeling of just making it to the top before you run out of stamina, especially when you genuinely think you're done for. Remember when horses were relevant? Do people even ride horses anymore? Horse riding in this game is fun, intuitive, and well, a bit pointless when you can just fly anywhere. Riding horses is a good way to get from A to B quite quickly, but without detaching yourself too much from the world around you. Yes, you may pass through the world quite a bit quicker than when walking, but at least you're passing through it rather than over it. You're still experiencing it up close. Plus, you still end up jumping off your horse to talk to an NPC, or pick up a hearty truffle, or check out a potential Korok puzzle, all things you're a lot less likely to spot from the sky. And even if you do, you're a lot less likely to make the effort of landing your hoverbike to stop for these little things. When you can very easily, quickly and cheaply build a machine that can carry you pretty much anywhere, the idea of creating any other device for the means of traversal starts to feel both pointless and a waste of either zonite or zonai devices. That means that instead of experimenting with different ways to use a hot air balloon to scale a mountain, you're just going to build a hoverbike instead. While you could come up with a fun boat design to get across a lake, you're just going to build a hoverbike instead. Rather than bother with those bits of wood that are left everywhere for you to play and experiment with, you're just going to build a hoverbike instead. When hoverbikes are so cheap to build, why would you waste zonite on anything else? I'll tell you why you should, because it's more fun. This game has such an awesome system for building vehicles and inventions, and there is just so much to discover about how the zonai devices work that there is literally a subreddit dedicated to people experimenting and sharing their discoveries. It's like a whole new branch of science. Let's stop hoarding our zonite devices and put more value on the fun experiences that using those things can bring you. Of course, that's easier said than done. This video is not trying to shame anyone for using the hoverbike or even for using it frequently. The point is more along the lines that the very existence of the hoverbike, or the fact that you're able to build it in this game, makes it so easy to get into the habit of using it, and very difficult to get out of that zonite and zonai device hoarding mentality. Hoverbikes make Hyrule smaller. This might sound like the opposite of true, because when you're flying around the game world, you get to see more of it, which may seem like it should give you a better feel for how big it is. However, I feel like zooming around from A to B too quickly and easily actually makes the game world feel smaller. Think about it this way. If you plan on visiting a place that's half an hour drive away, you might say that's not very far away, but if you took that journey on foot, it might take hours, and I'm pretty sure then you'd say, yeah, that's pretty far away. See how the manner of traversal makes distance seem relative. In the same way, I think that flying around Hyrule this easily and that frequently just makes Hyrule feel smaller. Ground-based traversal, especially on foot, may take longer, but I say that just adds to the sense of adventure that you're supposed to get from this game. It shouldn't be about convenience, about just getting to the destination. It should be about the adventure and the journey itself and the distractions along the way. That's the way the game was designed. And most importantly, actually experiencing the world that you're traversing through, rather than just seeing that distance between point A to point B as an obstacle. We can't forget to talk about the little details. Hyrule is a beautiful place. Yes, in the skies you can see wonderful vistas and appreciate the scenery, but you don't get the little details. I'm not knocking the Sky Islands, by the way, far from it. I'm just making the point that if you're spending most of your traveling time up in the air, then there's a lot of Hyrule that you're missing out on. Walking through the woods and seeing the fireflies dancing around, spotting squirrels scurrying off and little birds flying away, picking every apple and mushroom you see. There are just so many little details to experience that just add to the whole gameplay experience. And it's all on the ground. While awesome and certainly handy, the ability to build the hoverbike in Tears of the Kingdom flies in the face of that concept of adventure, exploration, and using your imagination to navigate the world that are some of the key qualities that make Tears of the Kingdom such a great game. So I beg you, stop using the hoverbike, unless it's actually necessary, or if you just need to complete a certain goal quickly without distractions, or if you're feeling particularly lazy, or if you just want to. In other words, use it as much as you want. Enjoy the game the way you like to play it. Don't let me tell you what to do. But if you want to get the most out of Tears of the Kingdom and all it has to offer, then use cheap flying machines sparingly. And most importantly, don't forget to walk. Sav'orq.